Welcome in to Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. Thanks for spending your Tuesday afternoon with me. We got dumpster fires everywhere. Only guy standing around warming himself over those dumpster fires, this guy, nice and toasty, standing next to that dumpster fire. I'm Clay Travis. Outkick the Show is presented by OddsShark. Go to OddsShark for all your gambling and informational related needs. As well, it's time to get a mortgage. Go to the Home Loan Expert. If you have a rate that is outside of the twos, they'll hook you up whether you need to get refi, whether you need to get a brand new hookup with a pre-clearance mortgage. Right now, if you go to thehomeloanexpert.com and tell them Clay or Outkick sent you, you get a year's free Outkick VIP, and you'll also save a lot of money as you get ready for the holiday season. Maybe for Halloween, maybe for Thanksgiving, maybe for Christmas. Don't pay more than you need to for your home. Go to thehomeloanexpert.com. All right, we got a lot to get to today. I appreciate all the support. Let's go ahead and give you the rundown. First, we're going to talk about Donald Trump going after ESPN. Second, the NFL, according to a leaked letter that Roger Goodell wanted to be leaked, now wants all players to stand for the national anthem and is trying to get it solved by next weekend. Tennessee football is a dumpster fire. You can go follow me on Twitter at Clay Travis and vote which one is a bigger dumpster fire, the University of Tennessee football right now or ESPN. And Michael Wilbon on PTI says something unbelievable. He says that NFL players are slaves on a plantation and that this is modern day slavery in the NFL by requesting them to stand for the national anthem. I can't believe it all. Let's start with the man in the middle of every controversy. We now believe that he listens to Outkick the coverage in the morning. I hope he's up early listening to us, streaming us along wherever he may be. I am on from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. If you're not listening to Outkick the coverage, you're missing the best sports talk radio show anywhere in the country, and we guarantee that we will entertain you. If you have missed what Donald Trump has been tweeting, here is what happened early this morning. Donald Trump went after Jemele Hill. And he said, and I quote, here we go, with Jemele Hill at the mic, it is no wonder ESPN ratings have tanked. In fact, tanked so badly, it is the talk of the industry. This is, in fact, true. Donald Trump going after ESPN for their ratings tanking and going after Jemele Hill personally. Now, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. I think Jemele Hill is trying to get out at ESPN. I think that's why she's lashing out at Donald Trump. I think that's why she's lashing out at broadcast partners. I got some amazing data here for you. Somebody who is involved in kind of keeping tabs on the industry sent me this math, and then I did it myself, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. Jemele Hill went after AT&T, Ford. She went after Bank of America, and she went after Dr. Pepper. Those were the four advertisers she said to boycott. AT&T is the most interesting because AT&T pays over $1 billion to ESPN every year as part of their licensing dollars. So she went after AT&T, who is representing roughly 12% or overall of the ESPN advertising, ESPN total budget. That is unbelievable to think about going after those advertisers. And so I don't know what she's seeking here. The only thing that makes sense to me is she is hoping that she is going to get fired because otherwise none of this makes sense. If I were right now in charge of ESPN, first of all, the company would be in a lot better shape because I never would have turned into a social justice warrior network where all you can do is sit around and have left-wing opinions. But the best possible solution here is pretty straightforward. What needs to happen, I'll tell you. After a drink from my delicious beverage here. What needs to happen is that ESPN needs to find Jemele Hill a job outside of sports. Because if they fire her, they're going to have the left-wing anarchy, right? Left-wing revolutions always end badly. They always end in the initial revolutionaries getting guillotined. The left wing always turns on itself. The far left now is going to protest ESPN. So effectively what you had was ESPN spent a couple of years trying to tame Twitter critics by becoming a far left-wing sports organization. And in the process, they didn't win anybody over. They only lost viewers. And now they're going to get crushed by the left wing just like they have been crushed by the right wing. It is one of the dumbest management decisions that I have ever seen. And what they have done is proven me right. You guys who've been reading Outkick, you guys who've been watching this show, listening to the radio show, know that I've been telling you this for a long time. I don't object to politics and sports. I object to politics and sports when it's so far left wing that nobody criticizes Colin Kaepernick, that nobody criticizes the entirety of the protest. Everybody out there only defends ESPN, only defends the players. There's absolutely no intelligent discourse anywhere, which is how you end up in this ridiculous situation. So they need to find her a job on The View or Good Morning America. She can be the woke expert. What we don't know is whether she would be very good at it. What we do know is that she's very bad for ESPN's business now, and there's a full-fledged revolution happening inside of ESPN. They got a race riot basically taking place all over Bristol. Did you see what was tweeted this afternoon? This is amazing. This is amazing to see right now, and I couldn't believe it. The Undefeated today, about an hour ago. The Undefeated is a website that nobody reads. Outkick the Coverage, despite the fact that we're not on the front page of ESPN, is more influential by far than anything the Undefeated has actually done. They tweeted, "This is Jemele Hill. She's dope," in all caps, because dope is the perfect word. Here are the receipts, hashtag receipts, along with a video of how awesome they think that Jemele Hill is. I need to start selling Outkick shirts instead of this one that has the state of Texas on it, and it just needs to say woke on it. Because I don't know if anybody's more woke than me. I'm the wokest motherfucker there's ever been, boys and girls. But open rebellion going on right now. The only way to solve it, if they fire Jemele Hill, then everybody, Al Sharpton's going to protest, civil rights leaders, everybody else. What they need to do, in all honesty, is they need to find a way to find her another job, shunt her off to the realm of politics where she can be the Good Morning America's woke expert, where she can come on and tell people why everything is racist. I don't know what's happened to Jemele Hill. I'll tell you this. I've had this conversation in my own household. I do not understand. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't understand. Donald Trump has obviously mixed himself into the world of sports. I think that's because he's a big sports fan, okay? I don't understand why everybody is so triggered by Donald Trump. I keep saying this because I think it's important. People are like, oh, this is like 1968. If you read that article about Politico, they said to me, oh, you got to pick which side you're going to be on. Are you worried that you're going to be on the wrong side of history? And first of all, anybody who studies history knows that the idea of what side of history you're on is not decided for like 100 years. It's very rare that we have a World War II type situation where one side is fighting Nazis and the other side is not the Nazis, okay? They're like, it's like 1968. Except in 1968, JFK got assassinated in 1963, 5 years beforehand. Then we had RFK get assassinated. And then we had an unbelievable situation where Martin Luther King got assassinated in April 1968. RFK got assassinated, I believe it was in August of 1968. All of that happened in the same year. And we were at war in Vietnam. Contrast that with right now. Right now we have the highest stock market of all time. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates of all time. We have the highest average per capita income adjusted for inflation in the history of the country. And we're not in war, and there's no real danger other than the fact that Kim Jong-un remains an insane madman in North Korea. What has Donald Trump done that is actually that bad? I hope I get invited to the White House because I love triggering people. But Donald Trump has said mean things on Twitter. He said supposedly inappropriate things all over the place. But what have we actually done that makes the country bad right now? I mean that honestly. What has Donald Trump actually done as president in almost a year other than whether the president's involved or not? We are at an all-time high in the stock market. We are at a near all-time low in unemployment. The trade deficit has declined. The overall success of the economy has improved in a substantial margin. What has Trump actually done that's a negative? I don't understand why everybody's getting so triggered. And honestly, did you see what Michelle Beadle said? There are a lot of people being driven insane. There are a lot of people out there being driven insane by Donald Trump. And I think the media is a big part of it. Jemele Hill used to be a totally normal funny, engaging person, and now she's turned into a Twitter woke expert obsessed with Donald Trump being a white supremacist. Michelle Beadle used to be kind of a funny person who went on Sports Nation and did ridiculous things and laughed, and now she's going on Sports Nation to talk about Cam Newton and the female reporter and somehow turning it into a discussion about whether or not white men should shut up and listen. Did you see that over the weekend? I got into it with Jamel Hill a little bit. I don't understand what's happened to these people. I feel like I'm the last sane person in the media looking around and being like, you know what? The country's not that bad. We're kind of actually in a great place. I don't understand what's happened to Jamel Hill. I don't understand what's happened to Michelle Beadle. I don't understand what's happened to a lot of people. You look around and everybody's starting to go insane. And I think it's social media. I think that social media is making everybody insane, except for I'm like the last normal person. It's a wild kind of world that we've entered into. I mean, think about how crazy it is that Michelle Beadle is on talking about Cam Newton and the reporter that he was in a feud with, and she includes in her conversation, shut up and listen, white men. White men are not involved in the Cam Newton controversy at all. We didn't do anything there. We're not the quarterback. We're not the reporter. We literally have nothing to do with any of this. And yet the country is going insane. I feel like as a radical moderate, a guy in the middle, Trump is the least conservative Republican president since Teddy Roosevelt. What has he actually done that has made things bad in this country? I wrote in my column today in the anonymous mailbag. I said, look, George W. Bush took us to war in Iraq and cost us $1 trillion. That is not ideal. And Iraq is still a mess. Donald Trump hasn't done anything bad at all other than say some mean things to people on Twitter. Now, I think you can argue that the downside for Trump is that effectively he runs his administration like it's a television show. I don't think there's any doubt at all. He loves drama. He loves conflict. He enjoys the stories associated with governance. But I think what you're realizing is what the stock market is telling us is, for the most part, politicians, as long as they don't fuck things up, don't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. If Donald Trump could get tax reform enacted, lower our corporate tax rate, increase the amount of money that rich people like me have to pay out for other people to be able to employ them, corporate tax rates, it's actually a net positive. So I look to markets to determine whether or not somebody is doing a good job. And right now, the stock market is saying Donald Trump is doing a great job. Now, maybe that changes. Maybe something happens with North Korea. Maybe he's going to do a bad job over the next 3 years. But he's almost a year in, and he really hasn't done anything very bad. Lower taxes. Now, I think it would be advisable for him not to be as active on Twitter. I think it would be advisable if he dialed down the drama. I've said for a long time personally, I'm a what matters is whether or not you win kind of guy. And if I were running for president and I got elected because of the Electoral College, but I lost the popular vote, do you think that I would care? Of course not. Do you think a couple of years ago Mark D'Antonio cared that he beat Michigan on a fluke play? You play to win the game. If you win the game and an election is effectively a game, then you won. I don't care if I needed the Music City Miracle to make it happen. If I run for Senate and I win a Senate race by 1 vote, I'm not going to sit around complaining because I didn't win the Senate vote by more or arguing with my critics. I'm going to say, you know what? I won. Okay? So I just think it's fascinating. Again, I don't understand it in general. Okay? That's my position on Trump going after ESPN. If you didn't hear that tweet or see that tweet, hear us talking about that tweet, this morning Trump said as follows, which I thought was wild. Again, I think he listens to Outkick. I know a lot of his administration will listen and watch these shows. I'd love to have Donald Trump on the show. Whenever he wants to do it, love to have him on. With Jamel Hill at the mic, it's no wonder ESPN ratings have tanked. In fact, tanked so badly, it's the talk of the industry. I will say this. ESPN PR has to be running around like chickens with their heads cut off right now. Because it's funny, they came to me and they said, we think your criticism of ESPN is so overblown and there's no basis for it, you're going to run out of things to say and nobody is going to be able to care what your opinion is. They said that to me. Kind of an interesting opinion, isn't it? Good luck with that. We have totally blown up ESPN because of their awful decisions. They are a disaster. They are making poor decisions, and those things are continuing. Okay, NFL is seeking to settle the anthem mess. What did I tell you? It's amazing how often what I say, you guys who watch this and listen to the show regularly, know that I call myself the King Solomon of the internet. Why do I do that? Because I have great judgment. Because I can look at controversies and immediately assess who is the winner here, who is the loser, what's going to happen, right, in the grand scheme of things. The minute that this protest started, I said this is bad for business. I said Michael Jordan had it right when he had a quote attributed to him about sports, and he said, Republicans buy sneakers too. You, if you are in the sports business, want to run from politics because there is absolutely nothing positive that can be gained from it, okay? Here is the truth. Here is what ESPN has failed to realize. Here is what the NFL is starting to realize. Here's what Jerry Jones is 100% right about. Look, here's the deal. Let me talk about Jerry Jones for a minute. Jerry Jones, whether you like him or not, is an astute businessman who has made a living understanding what the population wants when it comes to entertainment. He built a football temple that is a palace outside of Dallas. The Cowboys, the franchise that he bought, are an incredible asset that will have that are the envy of everyone. He has been such a brilliant businessman, okay? He recognizes, because he has a pretty good pulse on it, that the national anthem protests are bad for his business. I thought the Cowboys were smart because they kneeled before the anthem, then they stood for the anthem. Now, Jerry Jones has come out. And by the way, we need to get Jerry on the show. Need to get Jerry on the Outkick show because I'd love to have him on. He has come out and astutely said, my players stand for the national anthem. And that's what set off Jemele Hill. That's what set off everybody else. I want to hit this for you right now because I wrote about it this morning, and I want you to think about what a backwards universe we're in right now. This is how we've gotten to where we are. Last year, Colin Kaepernick protested the national anthem. This year, Donald Trump protests the protest of the national anthem. That leads to more NFL players protesting the protest of Donald Trump by taking knees during the anthem. Then many fans protest the protest of the protest by protesting and boycotting the NFL. Jerry Jones then says players should stand objecting to the protest of the protest of the protest. Jemele Hill then suggests that fans should boycott the NFL, the Cowboys, and its advertisers, leading to a protest of the protest of the protest of the protest. And now Al Sharpton and the alt-left plan a protest over Jemele Hill's suspension at ESPN, which means we're now dealing with a protest of the protest of the protest of the protest of the protest. This thing is fucking insane. And the NFL people are not stupid. Just like Jerry Jones is not stupid. They know that ultimately they are in the business of entertaining people. And so, Roger Goodell sent a letter today. I'm going to read from that letter. We live in a country that can feel very divided. Sports, and especially the NFL, brings people together and lets them set aside those divisions at least for a few hours. That's what I've been saying for months. The current dispute over the national anthem is threatening to erode the unifying power of our game and is now dividing us and our players from many fans across the country. Opening paragraph of Roger Goodell's statement. He gets a lot of things wrong. He 100% nailed the feeling of the country right now. Then he continues. I'm very proud of our players and owners who have done the hard work over the past year to listen, understand, and attempt to address underlying issues within their communities. At our September committee meetings, we heard directly, like many of our fans, this is an important line. We believe everyone should stand for the national anthem. It is an important moment in our game. We want to honor our flag and our country, and our fans expect that of us. We also care deeply about our players and respect their opinions. The controversy over the anthem is a barrier to having honest conversations and making real progress on the underlying issues. We need to move past this controversy, and we want to do that together with our players. You know what? I think it's a really good letter from Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell has been criticized a lot over the years for being tone deaf. I think that letter that I just read from, that just went out this afternoon to all 32 NFL owners, is spot on. I think he nailed it. What I have been describing, he might have been a year late on the letter. He might well have been a year late on the letter. That's fair. But what I have been describing for the past year, and certainly for the past several months, is that the NFL is the toy chest of life. Everybody decides whether or not they are going to be a fan of the NFL, predicated on some level on the escape from real life. You sit down for 3 hours and you want to escape the real life. You want to escape a real world. Okay? I'm telling you right now that in general, there is a lot of stupidity out there in the NFL. People did not realize, players, employees, everybody else, that the reason why people watch what they do is to escape real life, is to escape serious issues in their life. They don't sit there to have an opportunity to face political issues when you sit down on your couch with a beer to watch a 3-hour football game. And as a result, this is a ludicrous situation. And so what needs to happen is every player stands for the national anthem, just like every player is supposed to stand for the NBA national anthem, because the goal is to entertain people for 3 hours. And the analogy that I use is I get my kids to eat their good food by promising dessert. The NFL is dessert of life. The NFL is the dessert of life. And the reason why the NFL is the dessert of life is because there are serious things going on. Otherwise, we wait for the opportunity to actually enjoy the NFL. It's not broccoli. People do not want broccoli for dessert. So that's the truth. That is the truth, period. Okay, Tennessee football is now a dumpster fire. Tennessee football is now a dumpster fire. I put up a poll question for you guys. Butch Jones has totally lost it for the Tennessee football team. And I put up a poll question, which is more of a dumpster fire? Tennessee football or ESPN? Which is more of a dumpster fire, Tennessee football or ESPN? And the poll question is coming in, and thousands of you are voting. 6,000 of you have voted in the first hour that this poll question has been up. And ESPN is considered to be more of a dumpster fire than Tennessee football. 58% of you say that ESPN is more of a dumpster fire than Tennessee football. So that kind of puts into perspective how bad Tennessee football is. Is Quentin Dormady transferring officially news out there? A lot of football players at Tennessee and managers and people associated with the team watch this show. Shoot me a DM if Quentin Dormady is officially transferring and you guys have talked to him, because I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't play for Butch Jones if I had that ability and I had that choice, and I don't blame them at all. Finally, this is one of the dumbest things that I've heard said in a very long time. I want to play this for you. I tweeted it out last night after one of you tweeted it to me. It is Michael Wilbon talking about the protest. And I'm not sure actually that you're going to be able to hear it. So I'm just going to tell you to go listen to the podcast because we played it several different times. Mike Wilbon on PTI. One of the most unbelievably stupid comments I've ever heard anybody at ESPN or Fox or NBC or CBS say. And that's saying something because FS1 employs Shannon Sharpe. Uh-oh, our light just went out. Our light just went out. I think the power might be going out. Uh-oh. Dangerous here. Maybe ESPN's going after my light towers here. I can't believe that somebody said this. They said, and I quote, this is unbelievable. They said that Michael Wilbon, that the NFL is a modern day plantation. Let me get my light on here and go ahead and put it back on. The NFL is a modern day plantation. That was the argument that was made. It's one of the dumbest arguments I have ever heard anybody make before in the history of on-air absurdity. Lots of on-air absurdity over the years. This is one of the dumbest. And if you listen to the radio show, and I would encourage you to go follow it, he said that these multi-million-dollar athletes are effectively working on a plantation because they are being told that they have to stand for the national anthem. I want to take a step back here. I don't think that there's an understanding very well out there. I think this also ties in with Jemele Hill. I don't think people understand I don't think people understand that football players are employees. And when you are an employee, you do what your boss suggests you do. That's your job. If you own your employer, if you own your business like I do, then you are the boss and you make decisions about what you can and can't do. This is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard of, that people out there are suggesting that it's the equivalent of a plantation for NFL players to say that they have to stand up. Newsflash, when you are an employee, people ask you to do lots of things that you would otherwise not do in your real life. You give your labor and they give you money. That's the way that it works, right? That's the way that it works. You do labor and you get employed for it. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I don't remember slaves getting paid. I don't remember slaves having the opportunity to quit a job if they don't like it. I don't remember slaves having the ability to collectively bargain their work environments. I don't remember slaves getting paid millions of dollars. If that's slavery, then I'm happy to go back and re-up and sign up for slavery right now, because these guys are making more than 99.9% of Americans all over the country to play a game. If that's slavery, then sign me up. I said on this morning's show, can you imagine if we got in the Back to the Future machine, in the DeLorean with Doc and Marty McFly, and we took Michael Bennett and Michael Wilbon all the way back to the plantation, and we said, hey guys, we're going to leave you here. Go ahead and take this one pair of pants. Go ahead and take this shirt. Go ahead and get this rope to put around your waist to hold your pants up. You get no shoes. Give this new guy over here, this slave, give him your suit. I'm going to take him back, and I'm going to let him make a living as an NFL player for a week. He's going to get to live in your multi-million-dollar mansion. He's going to get to, if you're single, go out and chase hot girls of all sexes. Can you imagine going back to a guy in 1855 and saying, hey, instead of the cat o' nine tails, when you don't work hard enough, if you get a little bit sore, there's a trainer who will massage your grundle. He'll run right up and he'll rub your grundle, rub your hamstring, get all up in that soreness and get you loose so that you can run faster and tackle people. And by the way, you get to beat up a white guy who's going to play quarterback. And instead of getting killed, if you try and sleep with a white girl, you can go out to the bar and bang as many white girls as you want, and they'll want to sleep with you because you're a multimillionaire. And also, you can still bang all the black girls you want, all the Hispanic girls you want, and there's even people from Asia that live in America now, and they're all really good looking, and they're all going to want to fuck you, and all you have to do is go play football. Do you think that slave would be like, you know what? 2017 sounds a lot like 1855 on the plantation. Except I get to drive in a car that cost a couple of $100,000. There's this thing called air conditioning. I get to live in a multi-million-dollar house, and I only have to play 16 games a year, and then I get 8 months off. Do you think that the slave, let's call him Ulysses, because a lot of slaves had mythological names. Do you think that Ulysses would come back to the plantation when we took him back in time and say, man, racism is such a big problem in 2017 America. You know what they let me do? They pay me millions of dollars to go tackle a white guy, and I get to fuck girls of every different color, and all I got to do is go play 16 football games. Or do you think that Ulysses would go back in time and be like, guys, we got to find a way to steal this DeLorean and get to the future? I know they're saying Mike Wilbon's making millions of dollars to say that playing in the NFL is like being on a plantation. But if so, that plantation is like heaven. And I went to heaven and I saw it, and I can't wait to go there again. If you went and talked to a slave in 1855, they would say, you know what? The future looks pretty damn awesome. And the idea that they were on a plantation to do what they're doing would be the most ridiculous allegation that has ever been made. So Mike Wilbon, you're an idiot. You just made the dumbest analogy of an educated person in the media in the history of sports media, which is saying something because, again, Shannon Sharpe is employed in sports media. You have to go read a history book, you illiterate son of a bitch. You disgust me with this analogy, you should come on and apologize for being so stupid and making that analogy live on ESPN. By the way, not even live, it's tape delayed. That's the truth. Mike Wilbon, you are an idiot, and you should be ashamed of the historic argument that you made. Maybe today you can go on PTI and analogize playing for an NFL team and say it's basically the equivalent of being on a concentration camp and all the NFL owners are basically the equivalent of Nazis, because your historical analogy about them being a plantation was just as fucking stupid as that one would be. I'm out of here. Mike Wilbon is dead. I'm Clay Travis. Don't be a pussy. Thank you for hanging with me. We'll be live 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. This is Outkick the Show, presented by OddsShark. Go get your mortgage at the Home Loan Expert. Kisses. I'm out.